In early June of 1944, the English coastline was alive with movement, though much of it remained hidden behind secrecy and discipline. Troops moved quietly through camps, vehicles rolled under cover of darkness, and ships filled the harbors from horizon to horizon. For months, the Allied forces had prepared for this moment, rehearsing landings, refining plans, and masking their intentions with one of the most elaborate deception operations in military history. To the outside world, it was just another restless summer of war. But to the men waiting along the coast, it felt like standing at the edge of history, knowing that whatever came next would decide the fate of Europe. The war had reached a critical juncture. Nazi Germany still occupied much of Western Europe, and the Soviet Union bore the immense burden of fighting on the Eastern Front. Allied leaders knew that a successful invasion of France was not only necessary, but urgent. Delay would prolong the war, cost countless lives, and allow Germany time to strengthen its defenses. Yet launching the largest amphibious assault in history carried enormous risk. Failure would set the Allies back years and potentially alter the entire course of the conflict. As planning intensified, the question was not whether to invade, but where and when. The coast of France stretched for hundreds of miles, fortified with concrete bunkers, mines, barbed wire, and artillery. German commanders expected an invasion, but uncertainty plagued them. Would the Allies strike at the Pas-de-Calais, the shortest route across the Channel, or risk a longer crossing to Normandy? This uncertainty was deliberate. Through false radio traffic, inflatable tanks, and misleading troop movements, the Allies convinced German intelligence that the main attack would come at Calais. Normandy, they hoped, would appear secondary. Weather became the unseen enemy. Storms battered the Channel in early June, threatening to delay the operation indefinitely. Thousands of ships and landing craft waited in tense readiness, their crews aware that even a small shift in weather could mean disaster. On June 4th, the invasion was postponed. Morale wavered, supplies strained. The longer they waited, the greater the risk that German defenses would detect their preparations. Then came a narrow window of opportunity. Meteorologists predicted a brief break in the storms, a period of calmer seas and lower cloud cover. It was far from ideal, but it was enough. The decision now rested on a single choice: go forward under imperfect conditions or delay and risk losing the element of surprise entirely. In the early hours of June 5th, the Allied commander made the call. The invasion would proceed. As darkness fell, thousands of aircraft lifted into the night sky. Paratroopers were among the first to cross the Channel, tasked with securing bridges, roads, and key positions behind enemy lines. Many were scattered by clouds and anti-aircraft fire, landing far from their intended drop zones. Small groups formed in the dark, relying on training and instinct rather than clear plans. Despite confusion and casualties, they disrupted German movements, cutting communications and delaying reinforcements. Their role, though chaotic, proved essential. At sea, the Armada moved forward. Landing craft pitched violently in rough waters, leaving soldiers seasick, exhausted, and anxious. Many had never seen combat before. As dawn approached, the coastline of Normandy emerged from the mist. Low cliffs, sandy beaches, and fortified positions waiting silently. The bombardment began, naval guns and aircraft striking German defenses in an attempt to soften resistance. But smoke, poor visibility, and strong fortifications limited the effectiveness of the bombardment. Much of what awaited the first wave remained intact. The landings themselves were a test of endurance and courage. At some beaches, troops encountered lighter resistance and were able to advance inland relatively quickly. At others, particularly the most heavily defended sectors, the situation turned grim. Soldiers disembarked under intense fire, obstacles blocked progress, and units became pinned down on open sand. Leaders fell, communication broke down, and progress seemed impossible. Yet amid chaos, small acts of initiative changed everything. Junior officers, sergeants, and even privates took command when plans collapsed. They found gaps in defenses, scaled cliffs under fire, and neutralized enemy positions one by one. The invasion did not succeed because everything went according to plan. It succeeded because individuals adapted when the plan failed. By nightfall, the Allies had established a fragile foothold in France. It was far from secure, but it was enough. The German response, delayed by confusion and the belief that Normandy was a diversion, failed to push the invaders back into the sea. The deception had worked. Reinforcements arrived steadily, and within days the beachheads expanded. The weeks that followed were grueling. The Norman countryside, with its hedgerows and narrow lanes, favored the defenders. Every field became a battlefield, every village a fortress. Progress was slow and costly, yet the momentum was irreversible. Allied air superiority limited German movement, and supply lines across the Channel grew stronger with each passing day. Behind the front lines, engineers built roads, repaired ports, and constructed temporary harbors to sustain the massive force now pouring into France. Medics worked without rest, treating wounded soldiers under constant pressure. Civilians, caught between advancing armies, endured displacement, destruction, and uncertainty. The human cost of liberation was immense. German forces fought with determination, but resources dwindled. Fuel shortages, lack of reinforcements, and constant Allied pressure weakened their ability to counterattack. As weeks turned into months, the breakout from Normandy led to the liberation of Paris and a rapid advance toward Germany itself. What had begun as a desperate gamble on a stormy coastline became the turning point of the war in Western Europe. Looking back, it's tempting to see the invasion as inevitable, but nothing about it was certain. Weather, intelligence, leadership, and human resilience all played decisive roles. A single decision to proceed under imperfect conditions altered the course of history. Had the weather not broken, had German commanders reacted faster, had hesitation prevailed, the outcome might have been very different. The success of the invasion was not defined by perfection, but by adaptability. Plans failed, units scattered, and conditions worsened, yet the operation held together because individuals acted with courage and initiative. It was a reminder that history is shaped not only by grand strategies, but by countless human decisions made under pressure. For the soldiers who survived, the memory of that day never faded. For those who did not, their sacrifice became part of a larger story, one that reshaped nations and ended a brutal conflict. The beaches of Normandy, once ordinary stretches of sand, became symbols of determination, unity, and the cost of freedom. The invasion did not end the war overnight. Fighting continued for nearly another year, bringing immense suffering on all sides, but it marked the beginning of the end. Germany was now fighting on multiple fronts with diminishing strength. The balance had shifted decisively. History often remembers the invasion through iconic images: soldiers landing under fire, aircraft filling the sky, ships lining the horizon. Yet behind these images lies a deeper truth. Victory was achieved not only by overwhelming force alone, but by leadership willing to accept risk, soldiers willing to advance despite fear, and a coalition capable of coordinating on an unprecedented scale. In the end, the success of the invasion stands as one of the most complex and consequential operations ever undertaken. It reminds us that decisive moments in history are rarely clean or predictable. They unfold through uncertainty, human error, and courage in equal measure. For those studying the war today, the lessons remain relevant. Preparation matters, but so does flexibility. Intelligence is vital, but judgment is decisive. And above all, the human element, the ability to endure, adapt, and act, often determines the outcome more than any plan. As the war moved beyond the beaches and into the heart of Europe, the legacy of that decision endured. The foothold gained in Normandy became the gateway to liberation, not just of territory, but of millions of lives. It was a moment when history turned, shaped by risk, resolve, and the willingness to act when certainty was impossible. These are the moments Frontlines exists to explore. Not just the battles, but the decisions, the human stories, and the fragile turning points that changed the course of the world.